Hi everyone, it's Louise, and welcome. Today I'm doing a Fusion Art walking stick where I use the bloom technique and do 3 swipes, and I'm going to show you a whole bunch in this video, so you don't want to miss this. You'll see the creation and the mistakes I made at first, removing the paint skin, cutting out to size and applying the paint skin, preparing the wood and staining, and a snippet about the resining process itself. So let's get going here. Hi everyone, it's Louise with louisemckayart, and welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you guys taking your time to be with me today as I get ready to embark upon another swipe on a silicone mat that will possibly be a paint skin. I will insert what it's going to be a paint skin for somewhere in here because I honestly don't know yet because I'm trialing these colors. So real briefly, to go over the colors quick. This is purple. This is violet from Modern Masters, primarily. And I have a little dollop of Atelier in there as well. Dioxazine purple. After this one, I've got lilac, which is Pearl Lilac by Arteza. And after that, I've got this color here that is called Cranberry by Color Art. So I just mixed this up a little bit ago. This is my consistency. Here's the lilac and then the violet, which is a little bit thicker, but I'm not worrying about that because the swipe is a lot more forgiving in terms of your consistency. Now what I have over here is Australian Floetrol Ultramarine Violet. It's this one. And I'm going to swipe with this color. This is going to be, I mean, this is the cell activator. And this is Australian Floetrol, and it's a little bit thicker. That's my consistency. And here is my pillow paint, my Glidden Eggshell 6011N. So let's get going here. I'm going to pour down my pillow. And I'm going to go and fast forward through this as this video ran long. And everything spreads out, so I'm going to be a little bit conscious of that before I go too far. Okay, I'm trying to think of how big I'm aiming for here. Okay, we'll stop with that. This is going to be my swiper. This particular palette knife. I'm gonna give it a quick spin just to stretch it just a little bit. A little more. And I'm gonna go this way with it. And we'll see what we get. So what order do I want to go in? Oh, first of all, I gotta start with my cell activator. So let's lay down this first. If you're going to be swiping, you certainly want to put down your cell activator first because that's going to end up on the top as you swipe it out. As I'm laying this down, I'm thinking I should maybe add a little bit of white to it. Maybe. As this video rolls, I'm going to take the liberty to cut out pieces you don't need to see and also speed up where I can. Let me think about this. It's going to be quite purplicious. Okay, let's just go with this, and then we'll see what we end up with. Let's go with this first. This is the Cranberry. The Cranberry by Color Art. Oh, so pretty. And then we'll go with the lilac. If you hear my stomach rumble, it's just because I haven't eaten. I'm hungry. But I really want to try this. Is that enough? That's probably enough. Now, the violet. My violet is a little thick because I've used it a couple times already. So it's been sitting out a bit. Okay, I'll go with that. Now, I've done a couple swipes recently. A few bad ones, a few color combinations I didn't like. But in the course of these, I really learned that before I swipe, I need to take a deep breath, just kind of decompress, and then follow the swipe across. So I'm going to do that again right now. So, and it's not that I'm nervous. I just want to be able to, and then go. So once I flip this over, I'm going to go and I'm going to have it on a slight angle as I pull it through. And we'll see what we get. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to leave this in. My initial reaction looking at this was, my first words were smeary. And what was happening is the cell activator wasn't doing anything with the paints. And it continued to just lay there in a big smear. So I ended up trying something else. I'm going to let you see this because I think it's worth watching to be flexible and when you're making your creations. Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to mess around with this. So I'm leaving this in so you can see what I do to salvage the paint that I already poured in the process of getting ready to do another pour. And I just wanted to throw in here, every so often, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I go through these slumps. I don't know if it's the paint, if it's the environment, if it's my attitude or whatever, but sometimes I just go through a slump where anything I make is just not satisfactory. So this illustrates to you guys, hopefully, that you don't give up. You just keep trying different things. And in this case, I'll actually be showing you a different way of going about trying to get a good swipe out of this. And I'm going to fast forward here real quick. I'm going to try something different. Okay. Once again, you stay flexible and you don't settle for something you don't like. Okay, I'm going to lay the colors down first. And I'm going to actually mingle them together. So as I lay down the colors, I'm going to go on fast forward and still leave in some of the commentary from the real time. I'm going to blend them. I'm going to lay a couple layers down. Actually, a little more here. Cover up all the pillow. I am winging it here. Sometimes that's what you gotta do. Okay, I think that's enough. Now, cell activator. Let's drop this cell activator on here. Give it another stab. Yep. I don't know why I'm in purple mode. You know, one thing is you get a color and you want to actually finish using it. So I think that's part of what I'm doing here. Boy, I'm so happy spring is here. Listen to that, man. It's so nice out there. Okay, let's get this little guy popped first. Air bubble. All right, let's try it again. Whoa. That is purple. Crazy. Well, that is really amazing. Oh, holy cats. Anybody want some purple? Man, if you're a purple lover, this is it. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. Way better than what I did. Now I'm going to add some pillow paint and be very careful about going around. Again, I'm going to go on fast forward here and leave the original commentary in, as I need to give pillow paint for the composition to stretch onto, or stretch through, as I get ready to spin this out. I will zip through this part. Okay, we'll spin. So as I spin, I'm very careful to make sure the composition has pillow to float onto. And when it starts to get close to the edge, I'm going to add more pillow, and then I'll go on fast forward and then be back. Need more pillow. And I'm going to slide it to your right as I'm going off that way a lot more. The other day I had a moth get into one of my coasters, made a mess. That's funny, that pearl looks almost gray compared to the rest of this. I think I'll do another one. I'm going to try it a little bit differently. But this is where we are. Actually, I think I'm about done. Here are the other two paint skins. I made a total of 3, and next I will go into how to remove the paint skins from the silicone mat. All right, everyone, I'm back to remove the paint skins, and I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to use, but I know I haven't showed this yet, but my intention is to make a walking stick. This is what my plan is now that I have these paint skins. So I'm kind of doing this all backward. So this is a walking stick I started honing down and sanding about over a year ago. And what I had here are some gaps in the wood, and I thought I would fill it in with some resin, and I didn't like the way it turned out. So I ended up sanding all of that down again. But here's the whole stick. It's perfect stick because this is a handle that you just hold like this, and this stick is just perfectly designed to hold in your hand, which is what you want, and it's very sturdy, very solid. It's a solid wood, and it's been drying now for I don't know how many years, but at least a year in my possession. So now I'm trying to put everything together. And so now that I've got the paint skins, one thing I wanted to mention is that in finishing this to this point, the sanding and everything, I will link a video above that I have on one of my early fusion pieces, my art fusion. I'll link the video above, and in that video I have a very detailed listing and showing and demonstrating of the tools I use to sand, and my Dremel, my sander, different things I use that get a piece of wood into this kind of condition so that this now can be stained and then finished. But right now what I'm going to show you for what I'm doing here is easily removing these paint skins that have been sitting. These have been sitting now for a couple weeks because I've been gone. But yeah, once you have your paint skin and you pour your paint skin on your silicone mat, you just peel it off like that. Easy, easy peasy. Peel it off like that. And then this one, this is the bigger of the 3. And I think this is the one I'm going to use. What my intention, I'm thinking, is to cut this out and put it in here like this, and then I'll be resining around it. At least that's the thinking right now. Now, you've seen me doing other creations where midstream I changed my idea, and that's part of the creation process. So what I'll do now with these paint skins is I will cut these out in some like paper doll fashion, at least get the basic structure of what these paint skins will look like. And then I'll paste them on, like try different design, try different shapes, placement on here and see how I like it. I like the way these colors play together. But yeah, I did not like the way this resin worked by itself. So, okay, so I'll be back after I cut these out, and I will be back for the actual application of the paint skin, however I determine I'm going to do it. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes. So as I'm going on here, I'm just going to show you. This is all I do. So I've like looked at this paint skin, and I'm just going to cut it out in a large, cut it out large. So in other words, just kind of get all the junk off. And I always kind of bevel the edge a little bit as I'm going around. Now I'm just going to keep this part on here because I don't know what I want to do with it at this point. And then as I get back in, or I should call it serrating the edges. So see how this edge is not straight? Not as, you see that? It's not a straight cut. Just serrating it a little bit. All right, let's get back into it. And there's no rules about this at all. It's just, like I said, I'm just cutting it to size. And then once I get it kind of placed on the wood stick, I'll kind of fine tune the cut. Yeah, well, I live in Asheville, so a walking stick can definitely come in handy. So that's it. Here's my skin. Excess, here's my skin itself. Place it on there. Look how clean that looks. I mean, that's just nice. And this is not even fine-tuned. Matter of fact, I can tell you right already. Just let's get this. I don't know if I like that, but I'll cut and play. I think I might just go for one and leave these guys sticking out here. And then as I wrap it around, that's as far as it's going to get on the back. That's okay though. That's going to be, I don't know, we'll decide. We'll decide where I'm going to put this. It depends on how, when I hold this, how it looks. Maybe I'll use one of these others and just strip it in the back. I could do that. I can cut this out and like have one strip of it going down. Yeah, I mean, this is just the way the process works. You just kind of look at it, noodle through it, and decide how you want to do it. So I'm going to cut these out, and then I'm going to assess where I'm going to go from here. But I just wanted to show you that. Okay, I'll be back. So another little tidbit I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get this on and how I want it to be shaped. I'm going to use these little guys. Now, these are called Chameleon Changing Color. Now, I don't know, I've never used them before. This is what it's called. And here's the website. Now, I can't even take credit for purchasing these because all this over here is was basically gifted from Cathleen from Cause Creations back in, oh gosh, a year and a half ago when she was moving out of Asheville. She invited me over to clean up her art room, and she gave me a ton of stuff. And this is just one of the many things that is a gift that keeps on giving in a good way. So these are little pens, and what I'm going to do on all the edges, just showing you, So I don't have a white edge. I'm just gonna color it purple, because when I put this on with resin, after I varnish it on, and I resin over the top, I'm going to have the edges exposed to some degree, I think. And when you have the edge, you won't see it. You won't notice the edge so much because it won't be white. So I was very surprised to find this color in this box of gifts, but that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, this is this Chameleon marker. You probably can use just about anything you might have at home. You know, if it was a black thing, if it black primarily for color, I would just use a Sharpie, but that's what it is here that I'm going to use. All right, just wanted to show you that, and I'll be back for the next part. All right, everyone, so I forgot to get the camera going. So I'm outside right now, and I am applying my stain to the walking stick. And I ended up settling on this golden pecan, as opposed to the natural, because I needed something a little darker. So I'm just going over all of it. I'm just dipping, it's hard to hold the camera and do this at the same time, dipping the t-shirt into the stain and then just applying it like so. And I'm just going to go all the way around here until I get it all covered. I'll let it sit in the sun and dry, and then I may or may not do a second coat. I don't know yet. And then next will be the skin application, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. I just take some time to think about it. Okay, I'll be back with whatever step is next. Hi everybody, I'm back finally to do the paint skin application, and this was a little bit of a challenge to figure out how exactly to do this. But the nice thing about not being in a hurry, you can take your time to figure out exactly what you want to do. And I have to give credit to my husband, because when I was first looking at this, I was looking at putting them on straight, and he gave me the idea of basically, I guess the word would be to swizzle them. So I've got one of them secured with rubber bands because I didn't want to move that one. The one I'm going to show you is this one in terms of the paint skin application. So what I'm going to have here is I'm going to apply it. I'm going to apply it on there. So what I got is these two paint skins kind of laid out kind of like this, like a swizzle. So they're kind of on an, I don't know if I'm showing that right, kind of on an angle. So I got coverage on all sides with some of the paint skin, plus something I decided I wanted to keep is the resin I already had in there. I'm keeping the dark one. So, and then these two kind of fit into each other right there. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's very hard to try to show this because I'm going to be kind of making a mess. So I'm going to stumble through this, but basically you get the idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to varnish all the way around here, and then I'm going to take the rubber bands off and varnish that one all the way around there. Make sure, most importantly, is to push all the varnish out so I don't have any air bubbles in there, and I have all the varnish out, and I'm going to get all this covered, and that's the plan. So I apologize in advance if this is a little bit tedious and messy. Gosh, I don't want to take this thing off, but I'm going to have to. Most importantly, my lineup is this here, and the rest, and then that there. I gotta remember that. So I'm going to cover this all up. So let's just get some varnish on the front, on the back, just all over the place. Get this back down. Varnish this. I'm really kind of just winging it here. I seem to be doing that a lot lately. so kind of move it this way, right? How's that? Again, because this is running long, I'm going to go on fast forward, but leave the original commentary in. Okay, so we're going to start squeezing. Oops, I want to cover this up. See that pink? I want to get that covered up too. So let's adjust this a little bit. All right, everything looks secure. So that's it. So that's all I'm going to do for the other one. It doesn't take but a few minutes for this to secure. Make sure it's flat. So ultimately what I'm going to end up doing, and I'm not going to show the resining part because you know what, that's just going to be my little thing that I do. And for something that's this weird, I don't show the resining because sometimes it's difficult to film at the same time you're trying to get something done, and sometimes mistakes happen. And I just don't want to deal with having to focus on the camera and focus on trying to do this at the same time. So that one's done. So this is how it looks. So what I'll do, I will come back when I get the second one on, and we'll take a look at it together, and then I will be taking it into the resin, and then we will show you the final result when we're done. All right, everybody, I am back. Everything is secured. This is going to be cool. So next is going to be let this dry, and I'll probably work on resining it tomorrow. Yeah. So the concept will be what I'll do. I'll just try to keep the resin right where the piece is, but it's going to bleed over some, but I'm not going to stress out over that. You know, it's just going to kind of lay the way it's going to lay. And the question is going to be, how do I sit this down after I get done resining? And that's going to be the tricky part. You know, because wherever it lays, I got to keep the bottom clean as much as possible. I can't control everything on a round piece like this. All right, so I'll be back probably with the final resin creation when I get it all done. Sorry, I'm not going to show you guys, but I don't know what I'm doing. I can't, in a responsible way, tell you what I'm going to do because I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to get into it, and then I'll try to talk about it later. All right, I'll be back. So here is the walking stick after I've resined it, and it's in the curing, you know, I just laid the coating down. And all I did really was just pour it on and then wiped it off, you know, wiped it around with my hands. Pour with one hand, wipe with the other. And as I go here, I'm going to be cleaning up the bottom because I'll start accumulating drips. I've already cleaned up one set of drips. But the more I can get off now, the better, because then I won't have to scrape any off in the end or minimize it. And the nice thing about this stick is that it bows down a little bit in the middle. So most of the run is going to go toward the center, which is really good. So I just want to show you that. I couldn't show you the whole process because I just, it's hard to record and stay focused on something at the same time. So what I did, I measured this out 26 inches from one end to the other that I was going to resin. And I took a measurement of 6 inches, which is about the circumference at the widest point. So I multiplied 26 times 6, came up with a number, can't remember what it was now. And then I also factored in my coasters, but then I multiplied that number by 0.8, which is my resin calculator. And so I determined how much resin I needed based on that calculation. I'll link above the tutorial I have for how to calculate your resin mileage. It takes a couple times to figure it out, but once you do, it's good. And then here are the other ones. I'll show you these guys later. All right, I'll be back for the final result. So everyone, here are the final results. I'm voicing over even though I have the cicadas going on. I thought it would just keep them in the background for ambiance. So here she is. And what I ended up doing where I did not resin is I did use some satin varnish on both ends, the top handle area and the bottom underneath the last paint skin. But here she is with all 3 paint skins on there and the little swizzle pattern that I put it on. And I'm really happy with the way this turned out. And these colors actually went perfectly with that remnant resin I had from last year when I tried just pouring just resin straight. So here she is all swizzled up and looking sweet and shiny. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell and all. At the end, I'm going to include this in my Fusion playlist so you can check out other creations using paint skins and wood. And check out my description for links to different products I use, including KS Resin, where I have a link for 10% off. If you want to use it, it's in the description. So that's all I've got for now, everybody. Take care. Till next time.